What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. With me today is an incredibly inspiring leader. I'm very excited to talk with her. I have so many questions. I wish it could be longer, but it can't. We're going to get as much as we've done as we can in an hour. She is the CEO of Splice. She has an incredible background in tech and community products. So let's make a ton of noise for Kakul Srivastava. Kakul.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes. We did it.
Everybody who grew up with me, I have always been like, go. Let's go.
It's great to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Thank you.
We are, we at Jammcard are, I feel like, part of the Splice family in many ways. We have Jammcard samples on Splice.
We've made parties together.
We've thrown parties together, jams, which have been super fun. We've made like over 25 sample packs, I want to say. I've made 2 myself.
Amazing.
Elmo Lovano all in drums. Get it? Get it while it's hot. It's always hot. And yeah, I have a lot of friends at Splice, so it's awesome to have you here. And
it's amazing to be here. The people that you've had on this on the show, it's amazing. So glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Well, there's a lot of Splice users I know that listen to the pod and a lot of industry folks, but just I'm curious to think, how do you describe Splice?
I describe it as the leading marketplace for samples, supplying into the industry. We have people using the product who are incredibly talented, top tier performers, artists, musicians, and we have the kid in the garage using Splice. The dream really is to use the incredible breadth and depth of content that we have and use it to inspire new musicians, use it to inspire new music, and new ways to create music. So that's really what we're working on. Amazing.
And so with that being said, you were at Adobe before this. You've been at WeWork. You've been at GitHub. What is your leadership philosophy, and what have you learned in the past that you've now brought into Splice?
Oh, wow. I think my leadership philosophy really comes from the fact that I'm an immigrant to the country. I came to the country when I was 8 years old. And I think it gave me a sense of what it feels like to be the other.
Yeah.
And to try to figure out what the rules are of third grade class and what you say, what you don't say. In India, where I started my education, you stand up when you speak to the teacher. And when I would do that, people would be like, what is wrong with you? And so it's just, you learn all these rules, and I don't take it for granted that everyone knows what the rules are. And so that sense of empathy, of making sure that you're including lots of different kinds of people who come from different walks of life is really important. And that's important to me in the teams that I build, really making sure that people feel comfortable and safe being part of these teams. But it's also really, really important to the products that I build. A lot of times, especially in most of my career, which has been in the tech space, people assume that, everyone's comfortable with tech in a certain way, comfortable with software in a certain way, that, you've designed this feature and you've, added these instructions and everyone's going to read all of them. That's just not what people do. People have busy lives and they're trying to use your software while making lunch for the kids, and, they need to pay bills. And having that empathy, understanding that they're real people on the other side of this is really, really important. I'm new to the music world. Yeah. I don't come from it. And that's been really important for me, learning about the space, but also understanding that there are a lot of people who don't feel at home here, who don't feel like they know the rules of what it means to be a musician or an artist. And I have that beginner's mind and that empathy, and I think it's really important to build products with that empathy at the center.
And so in talking about the team and personnel, how do you, in becoming a new CEO of a company, how do you take lead to an already established team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really tough. So one of the things that helped me was that I was on the board of Splice for about a year and a half before joining. So I felt like I knew the company a little bit. I felt like I knew the team a little bit. But even though I felt like I knew all of those things as a board member, for me, it was really important to come in and really just keep my eyes open, my ears open, and try to understand, especially because Splice is such a unique culture. It's not a normal tech company. It's got music at its center. Half the people, maybe more than half the people, are musicians themselves. They care deeply, deeply about our mission. So one of the things that I did was I forced myself to not make any decisions for the first 30 days that I was there. I was like, I think I know what I need to do. There's a lot that needs to be done here, but I'm not going to make a single decision. And instead, I'm going to do this listening tour.
Wow.
And the listening tour was with our team, junior people, senior people, with customers, with partners. And I'm really glad I did that, because if I'd made some of those decisions early, I would have made mistakes.
Yeah.
So that was really important. I did a company all-hands meeting where I shared what I learned from the listening tour, and it really resonated with people. So when folks feel like you took the time to understand, you took the time to care, you took the time to listen, when you make decisions after that, people feel much more bought in. And I think that was a really important thing to do.
Should I be offended that I didn't get a call for the listening tour?
I'm here now.
Kakul.
The listening tour never stops.
Let's talk about me and my thoughts.
I should have. See, I made mistakes.
So you were already on the board of Splice, and then how did you get the gig of becoming CEO of Splice?
Well, so Steve had reached out to me to have
Steve Martocci,
who is the founder and was the CEO at the time. He reached out to me to have me join the company in some way. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I really love what I'm doing at Adobe. Got a big team here, et cetera, et cetera. But, some time later, I was like, I'm thinking about leaving Adobe. And I got to let Steve know, just because he should know. And he's like, wait, you're leaving Adobe and you haven't talked to us yet? And we talked a lot about what the right role would be. And ultimately, he and the board asked me to join as CEO. And
wow, that
was a really big responsibility. But I feel incredibly grateful and proud that they trusted me with this important role. We were talking on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you like, what's the thought?
I think there's an opportunity for us to really take Splice to a different place.
Yeah.
And my background in building technology products, almost my entire career has been about building software for creative people.
Yeah.
Whether it was at Flickr for photographers, or GitHub for people who write code, or Adobe, obviously. That's just what I care about. And that really resonated with the team. I've also led really large teams and built different kinds of leadership teams. And that was what really resonated with Steve. He's like, that's what we need for this company, for this next phase of the journey.
Okay, so you were the chief product officer at WeWork. And when you were there, this has nothing, I'm not talking about that side of WeWork.
I was there for like a minute.
Oh, were you?
No, I was there for about 6 months.
Okay, so I read that when you were there, that you were at least leading the team that created a members-only social network for WeWork. So obviously, to me, I was really interested in that.
Yeah. What
did you learn from that experience?
You know what? I was only there for a short period of time, but I'm really, really proud of the work that we did. And one of the most fun parts of being there was partnering with Miguel, who was one of the co-founders and chief creative officer there. And Miguel is from Portland, so he's also inspired by Nike and Shoe Dog and all of that stuff. So we just had a lot.
Shoe Dog,
Yeah, I know, right?
The best book. Read Shoe Dog.
It's totally worth it. But one of the things that I asked him, like, hey, I want to build this digital network that maps to the physical network that you all have been building. Do you have any advice for me? And he said something that I've never really forgotten. He said, we try to make all of our WeWork spaces feel a little bit undone. It's not always perfect. We want it not to feel perfect because it leaves room for people to be themselves. And I just thought that was so interesting, and it's such a hard idea to capture in digital space. But we really tried, and how we built that in was really important for us. Building that network there was about digital physical space networks. And so even in how WeWorks are designed, they intentionally make the common spaces beautiful and like stunning and like really great to be around. But if you go into the offices, they're really simple. They're really plain. They're really clean cut because they want people to spend time in those communal areas. So I think that's a really important part of that particular experience. And I'm sure that that's something that you think about with Jammcard as well, because you do have a network, but you have very much a physical space, network with jams and all of that. So I just think that's where it becomes really interesting.
Yes.
Our lives are so digital. Bringing that social network to the physical space is so important and so powerful.
So does the thought kind of go to like leaving space in the UI? Like how does that translate into digital product?
Leaving space in the UI, it also translates to just the design of it, maybe making it not so perfect in the sense of clean lines, allowing room for people to communicate with each other. What's the chat experience? What's the chat experience around events? What's the chat experience that connects people on a certain floor? Those kinds of things really need to be thought through.
Mm-hmm. And you're an engineer originally, right?
Sort of, yeah. I studied mechanical engineering, which is completely useless to me. And I can fix windows if I need to.
I may call you for that.
Yeah. But I spent most of my time in college in biotech labs. I was particularly interested in protein folding, which weird, I don't know. But
sounds healthy.
It was important. We were studying Alzheimer's disease.
Amazing.
But yeah, very irrelevant to my life today.
Yeah. And then you kind of just went down a product, very kind of consumer driven path.
Yeah. I mean,
creative consumer.
I went to, it's actually an interesting thought, which is I went to a tech startup. When I started, I worked there as an engineer. We were a biomedical device startup, and we had this cool polymer. If you put a certain wavelength of light near it, it would become sort of go from liquid to solid, and you could put drugs inside it and deliver them locally inside your body. Just super, super cool stuff. But I thought the people running the company were kind of morons. And I was like, even I can do a better job. And so I went to business school to learn how to be a good business person for great technologists. And I kind of fell in love with how fast you could build things with software. And that passion for being a good business person for technologists sort of morphed into being a good business person for creative people. And I've never really looked back. If I can wake up every morning and think I'm going to help someone be a little bit more creative today. Yeah. Why would anyone do anything else?
How do you build fast software when you have a big team?
Yeah. Well, one thing is you don't always have to have a big team.
Right.
And sometimes a really small group of people can do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
My first experience with this was when I was at Flickr. I think we were like 7, 10 people.
Wow.
And we were running a site that was reaching 100 million users.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
it was really extraordinary. And at that time, at least in my mind, I was learning. I was just absorbing everything. And it was a lot about what does it mean to be a super team?
Yep.
And I have tried to replicate that idea over and over and over again. And that's what I'm trying to build here at Splice. So it's not about having a big team. It's about having the right group of people who are motivated by a big mission. And then you just try to take all the obstacles out of their way. And that's what we're doing. So that's one thing. It doesn't have to be a big team. But if you do have
and even, 10, 15 years later, whatever, it's really the same strategies can be used to solve problems.
It's human nature.
Yeah,
You know this.
Yeah,
you know this. It's human nature over and over and over again.
Just simply removing obstacles can do a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. But it's hard to find them. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not easy to know what's coming in the way. Sometimes it's cultural stuff. One of the things that I noticed at Splice, and we talk about it a lot, is, in fact, it came out of my listening tour.
Yeah.
I was like, we have ghosts here. We have behaviors that were learned based on how people behaved who are no longer working here.
Wow.
But those imprints of those behaviors, those imprints of, well, product does it this way, and they always do it this way, or engineering always does it this way. Those ghosts exist, but those people who created those negative behaviors are long gone. So how do we kill the ghosts? And we talk about that all the time. And,
Wow.
we will be talking about something like, and someone will say, oh, well, product did blah, blah, blah. Like, did they really, or is that a ghost? And we have that conversation, and it makes it, and so sometimes these obstacles can be things you can't see.
That's got to be really empowering to the still current employees.
Yeah,
too.
because we can challenge some of these cultural imprints that are not healthy for us.
And just allowing, we can make this better. It doesn't have to be
It doesn't have to be this way. Yeah. Yeah.
Empathetic cockle to the rescue. There we go.
Something. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question totally. We got off on some other thing.
It's okay.
It's a fun conversation.
Yeah, 9 a.m. So, so yeah, you've had a really impressive career with GitHub and Adobe. What is a key lesson and strategy that you have brought to Splice?
I realized one part of your question from before that I want to answer here, which is how do you build fast with a big team? And it relates to this question as well. One of the things that I have learned in all of those places is creative people will take your product to a completely different place than you can imagine. You can build all your plans, you can do all your market research, you can have all the data, and then you put something in the hands of creative people, and they will be like, no, you need to go this way. And that's something that we're doing here pretty aggressively, and it's core in how we're building this new create, part of our experience, which uses AI technology. And I know we're going to talk about that later, to help suggest different sounds that might go together. And so it's a way of driving inspiration and discovery and all of that stuff. When we first built it, we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And you push this button and this whole thing happens. And we started talking to users about it. And they're like, no, I don't really like this. This feels like it's cheating to me.
Yep.
This feels like I'm not really doing a lot of the work. And and the artists that we work with, they were like, no, I need more control. I need I need this information. I need this way to explore. These genres are totally wrong. And so one of the opportunities for us is how do you build software actively with your customers, actually part of the development process. So we have a Slack channel where all the live feedback from customers goes right into the Slack channel.
Nice.
And with our designers, with our developers, with our product managers. And it's literally like we're having a conversation with our customers
Amazing.
all day long. And I think that's really, really, really important. And we did that way back in the day at Flickr as well. It was really interesting. We would launch a feature and then it would be totally quiet in the office because everyone was at that time after we launched it, reading all the user reviews, whether it was on other people's site or our site. And immediately, without even, anyone's putting it on a list, our engineers would start fixing the issues that users were highlighting. And that's how you do it. You really just bring your users into the work with you.
Constantly talk with your users.
Constantly.
It's really crazy. So I think we should now go to the AI conversation.
All right, let's do it.
As you brought up Create. So Create being the first AI tool from Splice.
Yep.
So how does Create work for someone that hasn't used it yet?
Yeah, so it starts with the content that we have. We have an incredible library of samples that we've created with artists from Jammcard and all sorts of other places. We have teams that have traveled to Korea to record obscure Korean instruments that you and I have probably never heard about. At least I haven't, you probably haven't, you might have. Or record in studios in Bollywood in India to get the real acoustic sound from those studios built in the 70s. Our team cares so much about the quality of these human sounds, instruments. We just had a team go and record geothermal springs, right? So it's just crazy stuff that we want to make available for people to be able to use.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really core part of Splice and what makes Splice special. So when we started down our AI journey, which was several years ago before I joined, we had this incredible training data that we had available of human-created sounds to really understand what sounds good, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so our hope is to use that AI technology to help people understand which sounds go together and which sounds really complement the creative work that you're trying to do. I know we'll talk about Gen AI, but for Splice, it's really about human beings at the center of our creative work. And even the feedback that we've gotten from our customers is, don't make it push button. Don't make it like one button, here's the creation for you.
Yes.
Instead, give me control.
Yeah.
Give me power, because I want to use this technology. It's really fun. It's really interesting. It's helping me explore new directions I might not have gone with my work. But I need to be in the driver's seat.
Yep.
And that's core to our philosophy. We actually talk about it as human at the center.
Yes.
Dynamics, human at the center, mechanics, human at the center, UI controls. It's always going to go back to that. And so with Create, you can start with a seed. Today, you can start with a genre as a seed, and we'll help assemble a group, a bunch of samples that go together. And then you can explore it in different ways. You can shuffle different tracks. You can play around with beats per minute and other controls over time. And then the feedback that we're getting live from our users is, this is all great, and I want it closer in my workflow.
Yes.
I want it, I want to be able to put my own samples in and see what you'd recommend for me. I want to be able to hum a tune and have you, sort of assemble around that.
Right.
So,
or match something similar to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that we're doing, but it's really going to be about bringing it closer and closer to the real workflows that users have.
Because I feel like Splice is in the best position out of any music company in terms of the capabilities of what music AI can be tool-wise. I mean, you have the highest quality samples and the most of them, and organized, tagged, everything like pretty damn well.
Yeah.
So I feel like if anyone is there to make something super impactful, it's Splice, in my opinion. I've been thinking that for a long time. And spent a lot of time. Shout outs to Mark Thomas.
I love that guy.
We love Mark Thomas. VP of Sounds. What's his title?
VP of Sounds.
VP of Sounds at Splice.
Yeah. Just that, sounds.
Just sounds, just everything Mark Thomas, and who's a great trumpet player also.
Yes.
But like I like how you can just create and like, oh, let's add a drum stack to this. Let's add a vocal stack to this. I don't really like this next one. You can kind of shuffle through it. It's easy. You can export stems or Ableton, however you want to export to.
Studio One right now.
Yeah, and Studio One. So I feel like it'd be so cool if it was like in your DAW as a plugin or something.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
It would be so awesome.
What an interesting idea.
Here's my track. Be like, oh, I should add it there. There's creative Splices in the DAW.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
There's suggestions.
Mm-hmm. If you ever want to be a product manager with Splice.
I'm in the ears of a lot of people. I think I already unofficially am.
You probably are. But that's actually that's exactly what our customers are saying.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're like, I want this deeper into my workflow.
That would be amazing. And that's like totally empowering. It's not replacing humans. It's not doing anything like that. It's just like the co-pilotness, or even be able to have a conversational UI that you could talk to Splice.
Yeah.
Be like, can you like, even if you could have create with a conversational AI, like, can we do kind of like a hip hop beat, but with like a kind of make a lo-fi synth on top of it. And then it's like, there you go. And you're like, okay, no, but yes, but no, but yes, but no.
Right,
but let me, okay, actually, let me just take only the drums and the bass line from this, and I'm going to write all on top of it.
I mean, honestly, that's a really big source of inspiration. Yeah. How musicians actually talk to each other inside a studio.
Yes.
Like that is something that I think about a lot. It's not something I'm personally super familiar with, but I really think that there's some magic that happens in those conversations.
Yes.
I've been actually listening to some of these stories around writers' camps and what happens there. I just feel like there's something about the magic of collaborating on creativity that needs to be brought in. And I don't know if it's going to be like human to machine. It might be human to human and machine, something like that. But I think there's something to explore there.
I already have all the ideas. Just so you know. I have them all written down.
Well, that's because
we could talk about it on the show. I don't care.
This community, we should we should make something happen. Seriously.
On the show is the only place where I actually live will like iterate and be like talk about future Jammcard ideas. And I'm like, if you're listening to the show, you're an insider. You're here with us. So
I love that. I love that.
Gary Vee said something to me that resonated forever. He told me years ago, which he was like, essentially, he was like, I'll tell you all my plans, all my future plans, because what are you going to do? Try to copy them? Okay, well, then you're going to compete with me. Good luck. So you better be better product than I am. You better have better connections than I am. You better execute faster than I do. And even if you do, you're not going to make it the way I would make it, or the way I would lead a team to make it, or whatever. Yeah. So Gary was saying that, not me. But that resonated with me a lot because I was so scared, I think, when I became a founder. Because I toured just as a drummer and music director for like 15 years. I was not doing any tech at all. So when I finally started doing tech, it was like, NDA to hear my idea, and it was like, no.
No, you talk about your ideas all the time. Yeah, that's true. But it does take a while to feel like, do I have confidence that I can execute on it better than anybody else?
You have to build that confidence for sure.
And when you have that, just makes you very powerful.
Yeah. And the execution is the entire value.
It's the entire value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many, I feel like I have so many ideas for Splice that are human, just prompting an AI of like co-piloting and as an engineer, the way you talk to an engineer, like, oh, can you add a low pass filter?
Why don't we have a conversation? Let's pull some of the people from the Jammcard community, yourself, and let's have a conversation.
For sure. Live on the podcast.
Let's do it. No, seriously.
There's also so many and actually I like some of my earliest, I've been friends with Steve Martocci for years now as well. And we have great brainstorming conversations, and there's been a lot of ideas that him and I have had that have just never gone to the next level that I think are still relevant.
Yeah.
Even
100%.
Jammcard integrations of more humans to help you create that are also Splice creators. So it's human created, even if it's people making sample, Mono Neon, you're using Mono Neon sample pack. Why don't you, hey, do you want Mono Neon to make something custom for you right now?
Well, I think that's really important because there's this, vibe that everything on Splice sounds the same. And it's actually not true because they're real artists behind all of the different sample packs, and they all have their own unique creative vision.
Oh man.
And I think tapping into that, because people want that unique sound, whatever that is, tapping into that some way to say, you want a unique sound? Here's actually a unique sound. It's never been created for anyone else.
Definitely. And you can find a lot of those on Jammcard samples on Splice.
Jammcard samples are wonderful.
Like the Lara Samoji harp pack. Or even the mono neon bass pack. That sounds like nothing. It's mono neon. That sounds like nothing else you've ever heard. That's for sure. Listen to the Terrace Martin pack. Sounds like...
I always listen to the Sunday
I wish I had samples from everything. Oh yeah, we got the Sunday Service Keys with Phil Cornish, Kanye's musical director from Sunday Service. We also have the Sunday Service, or we have the Samples Choir, which is the Sunday Service Choir, which is incredible gospel choir pack. We also have Sunday Service.
I mean, talk about human sound.
Oh my God.
It's like divine.
When we were recording the Samples Choir pack, we did it at East West Studio A, huge room, or Studio One, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Giant room with all of them stacking the stacks that they were doing with Jason White and Nikki Greer, who lead the Samples Choir. Oh my! I would just had chills.
I mean, I was just watching the video, and I was like, oh my God, wow!
It was such a vibe.
Yeah,
it was such a vibe. And so there's many a unique pack. The Corey Wong pack sounds like Corey Wong. See, but I feel like you could also have them just create. There's something there that also then brings revenue to the creators of.
Well, and that's a huge part of
it. Custom samples.
A huge part of it. I think people think Splice, makes all the money for Splice, and it's really a marketplace.
Yeah.
There are real artists on the other side who are being compensated for these incredible packs.
Oh, yes.
So that's a really, really important part of Splice.
And there's also so many people at Splice that are all doing their side hustle, still being a musician, still being a producer.
Yeah. It keeps us honest.
Shouts to Matt Block.
Yes.
Matt Block's got crazy, his Tastemaker label. Like he's just like, everyone does cool stuff. There's a lot of people that do cool things and really, really care at Splice from our several years of working together.
Well, we're musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I'm actually a terrible musician. I've been asked to not sing along with the radio. I'm trying to learn. But,
what are you trying to learn?
Well, I'm learning music production.
Okay, good.
So that's where I'm starting.
Yes.
But there's a lot I need to learn.
Yes. Where are you learning music production?
So Nick Chen on our team.
Nice. Perfect.
I'm like, Nick, can you show me how to...
Are you starting with like...
He gives me homework.
Logic?
He's teaching me on Ableton.
Nice.
But he's taught me in other places as well, but mainly sticking with Ableton.
Amazing.
But he gives me homework, and when I don't do it, he looks very disapprovingly at me.
Do you have a lot of credits on Splice?
I do have some credits on Splice.
I know a person that could get you some.
No, I pay for my own subscription.
Sure. Via stock. No, I'm just kidding. So I think one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast specifically is to talk about AI, because I know a lot of our followers, a lot of our listeners, a lot of the Jammcard community, I hear concerns from them. Of course, they're seeing things online about generative AI and music, no longer needing humans to create music and all this kind of stuff. So I feel like I really wanted to open the conversation with you about it, so we could talk specifically to those people about about AI. And I feel like having the conversation immediately will make someone could make someone feel better. In terms of like, where are we at today with AI? Because where we're at today, there's a lot of phony stuff on the internet that's making fake demo videos that makes it seem like we're already there with all this stuff, and we're not with a lot of things. Of course, there's ChatGPT and all these amazing products that are excelling very fast. But so in terms of music technology, where is the state of AI today? Where do you think it'll be in 1 year? And then where do you think it'll be in 5 years?
Yeah. So I think AI is super interesting. I think there's a lot of really fun things that can happen with it. I think it could be a really powerful tool in the hands of artists. But I think that's the important thing, is the artists have to put their hands on it.
Yeah.
And, I was talking about empathy earlier. I think there's, especially being the CEO of Splice, I think there's a divide between musicians and technologists.
Yes.
Because both work at my company. And sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions, right? Like tech is too complicated, it's too hard. Certainly for me, looking at Ableton or Logic or any of these tools, I was like, wow, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And so there's a sense of, that's not really for me.
Yes.
I didn't do math. I don't do science. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. But this technology has such potential in the hands of artists. So if I could just give any advice to the people who are watching or listening is get your hands on it and really see. And I think that's going to take away some of that fear, uncertainty, and doubt around it as well. Because when you get your hands on it, you're like, oh, that actually sounds terrible.
Yes.
Right? And there's a lot of stuff that really sounds terrible. Being where we are at Splice, all these startups come to us to say, hey, do you want to buy our company? And we're like, no, actually we don't.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound good.
Right.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. I think the other, but it's going to get better. It's definitely going to get better. That's one thing I know about technology. It gets better. But I think for the next year, to answer your question, there's going to be a bunch of hype. There's going to be a bunch of disappointment because it's not really that good yet, et cetera, et cetera. I think in 5 years, we are going to see such cool stuff getting created because by then, artists will have put their hands on it. Mm-hmm. And, this has happened over and over and over again in music, where a piece of technology comes out and everyone's like, oh my God, it's going to destroy the need for musicians. And it hasn't. It didn't happen with synths. It didn't happen with samples. It's not going to happen with AI because what it means to create art, what it means to create music is a fundamental human act.
Yes.
It comes out of the pain that we feel and the joy that we feel and the places that we've walked. And music has never been a supply problem. It's about really connecting with an audience. It's about really connecting with a human being. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that can happen without the human behind it. A human can use AI-based tools, certainly, absolutely. And I can't wait for more people to be doing that. But the genuine spark comes from deep inside someone.
Yes. Yeah. I really feel that if a human knows that a piece of art was created by AI or machine, that they won't care about it. Like, I think it devalues it actually. Because, and the reason, kind of my own, how that feeling hit me or that realization hit me was, obviously there's all these AI tools now, and especially I encourage the Jammcard team, we're all using them. We're using ChatGPT every day. I'm like, this will help save you time. Like, it can make your email that you're writing to this person better. It can make your blog, prompted and then like just mold the blog, but it'll save you 20 minutes of getting started whatever it is. Like I always encourage the team to use it. And so we actually, we brought someone in to specifically do an AI research project on all the music tech platforms.
Oh, that's so great.
Creating AI tools right now, because I was like, I don't want a summary of what platforms are there and what do they do. Right. I want you to use it and give me your feedback on
I love that.
what you thought. Like, and actually she loved Create was one of the
that's so
top
good.
ones.
Good.
But there was a bunch of others that ended up being, her review was essentially like, this isn't there. Like this isn't there. This sucks, or it's clunky, or the UI is horrible, or whatever. The UX is or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All the different things are just not there yet, or in the wrong direction, or whatever it may be. But then to me, so she delivered this beautiful presentation to me, let's say a 20-page like PDF. It was designed beautifully and everything. And I had the thought when I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is really good, like one paragraph in. And then I was like, did she just have AI do this research and then make this deck?
And you don't know.
And even the thought of that being a possibility devalued to me the entire presentation, right? I immediately went like, oh, if AI just did this, or did majority of it, I actually don't even care to read this, or I'm going to read it and not actually take it to heart or not resonate.
Yeah.
To the point where I had to reach out and be like, be honest with me. Because I want to know, like, if you, the human, made it, AI tools is fine. But if you, the human, made it, and this is your heart and soul and thoughts and your real human opinions, then I care about this document enormously. But if it's 50% or more of AI created, and I don't blame you for it, I'm not mad because I understand, but I just don't care about it's valueless to me now.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so if I heard, we talked about When Doves Cry earlier, right? So yeah, an AI cannot make When Doves Cry, or the emotion of that, or whatever it took Prince to pour that out.
Yeah.
But even if it could,
You know,
to me, I just, when I'd hear it, as long as I knew, oh, this came from an AI, I just wouldn't be able to emotionally attach to the song, because I'd be like, this came from an algorithm.
Yeah. Well, and maybe people worry that they won't know.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you weren't sure, did this person make this or not? So I think there's something around that people worry about.
I think that's the one area where we could finally thank a major label, because the major labels will not allow us to not know.
That is true. Well, I hope.
With the whole copyright conversation and the ownership conversation and unless Spotify makes one themselves, and they would be the only people that could make it and then like blind you and not say and can, but I don't
think that helps them. I don't think that helps them. But I would just say that our experience is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
Which is, we have this incredible training data. And so people ask us, like, are you going to create generated samples? I'm like, maybe. I mean, if our users tell us that's what they want, sure, I guess. But that's not what our users want.
Yeah.
Our users want those hair-raising, high-quality, acoustically coherent, beautiful human sounds.
Yes.
And that is what people want. So as long as that's what people say that they want, that's what we're going to continue to deliver.
Yes.
Right. So I think you're tapping into something that's very true.
Man, you know who scared me the other day? I'm going to talk about it. Will.i.am. Will told me he knows the truth.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Will said he went to Google and they played him the best Black Eyed Peas song he had never heard or wrote. Interesting.
I think that is interesting, but at the same time, I mean, do I want Beatles songs that are not made by the Beatles? I don't think I do. I don't think it has that same emotional resonance for me.
What are the platforms that you think are doing, high quality stuff or decent quality stuff right now in music AI?
I think they're all trying, and I love that they care, right? Because one of the things that's been really true for me coming in from the tech world into this space is that I think technology has underserved musicians for a really long time, right? Even coming into the music world, I've talked about this concept of Tale of Two Cities, and I'll just say it again here, which is I feel like there are two cities here in this world that we operate in. One is about, it's a very shiny city full of beautiful people and crystal lights and beautiful hair and makeup and all of that stuff. And that's the world of how do I become famous? How do I become rich? How do I get X many followers, X many streams, etc.? And a lot of people in this industry are focused on how do we help people become famous?
Yes.
There's another world that exists exactly in the same place. And that world is of people sitting around computers or machines in badly lit basements and in their, garages where people are actually making music. Mm-hmm. And, we've talked to our users who are in those spaces and you ask them, like, what does it mean for you to create music? Like, what does it mean when you feel like you're done with a track? Like, how do you know it's done? And they'll say, I just start smiling, and that's what we're after. That's what we're focused on. But as I look, because there's been so much more investment in that shiny city, there's been underinvestment, chronic underinvestment, specifically around technology. I mean, that's why some of these software is so hard to use. It's like 30 years old. And so how do we bring that focus?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Google and Meta and all of these companies are focusing on this. I still think they're focusing on the problem of content creation and not on the problem of creatives trying to bring life to their idea.
Yes.
And that's the distinction. I hope that more of us will get there, but right now it's still a big science project. Like, we've got all this data, let's see what we can do with it. And so I think they're all doing really cool things. There are pros and cons of different approaches. The thing that's going to matter, in my opinion, is one, what's the quality of the training data that you have?
Yes.
And are you building tools with humans at the center?
Yes.
That's what we're focused on.
You're doing both things. So you have the best data.
We do have
and you are
data.
Human-centered Kakul.
We are human-centered.
Empathy queen.
Empathy queen.
So what are you going to build next? What are you working on?
We're listening.
What can we talk about?
We already talked about it. We already talked about it.
What is next?
We've got users who are giving us really good advice, really good feedback, and they want these tools. They want them closer in their workflow. They want to be able to use their own samples or other samples from Splice to start that conversation, start that creative work.
Yep.
And so we're spending a lot of time thinking about how to do that.
That's exciting.
It is.
Okay, I'd like to pivot to the most important thing in the world.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Family.
Yes.
How do you balance being the CEO of a very large company and being a mother?
That is a good question. I don't know if I do it well all the time. I have 2 teenagers. I have a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter.
Amazing.
They tell me that my musical taste is terrible. Oof. They're hoping that I'll learn something working at Splice.
They don't help you? They're not like, listen to this, Mom.
They do. They do.
What do they listen to?
My daughter is a huge Taylor Swift fan.
I knew you were going to say that. Did you take her?
No.
Come on. It's right there for you.
I know. It's just, it's a guilt. I feel very guilty.
Go to South America and take her.
I think this is me being an immigrant. I'm like, wait, what does the ticket cost? I would never go to a concert.
You've been making software for 20 years. Don't buy the ticket.
I know. So I should.
It is the most expensive ticket in the world.
I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe I should have.
You're like, what is this, a private show in Dubai? I don't understand. Why is it so expensive?
That might be less expensive, honestly. Yeah. But, and my son really likes the Eagles.
Nice.
Yeah. He goes way
Okay.
back. So he's like not interested in sample technology at all.
No. That's cool.
Yeah.
Does he like Don Henley solo also, or does
not as much?
He wants the Eagles.
Yeah. It's very old school 70s.
Yeah. So Boys of Summer is too happy for him. It's too
He's 16. He's
in his feelings a little more.
Anyway, they're great, and it's an old adage that people tell you that it's about integration. It's not about balance, and feeling like I brought my daughter to New York with me, for a week last summer, and it was really fun. She could, see how mom is at work, but explore New York. And just finding ways to integrate family is super, super important. My first startup was a company called Tomfoolery Incorporated that ended up being bought by Yahoo. But the day that we were launching our first product at that company, it was a huge day for me. I was the CEO for the first time, and we had some hiccup with the nanny, and the Uber wouldn't come. And so I was still at the front doorstep of my house while the team back at the office launched the product and the press went live and all of this stuff. My kids were young. I think they were 5 and 7 at the time. And I'm like, guys, look, I'm showing them my phone, like, look, mom's company is live. Look, our product is live. Look at this. And they just started like marching around the front hallway, tomfoolery rocks. And I was like, this is what it feels like.
That's
awesome. This is like I have won the lottery. Everything else is downhill from here.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so you hold on to those moments. They're obviously hard moments too, but you hold on to those moments.
I love that. Kakul, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. And the next time I'm going to teach you something. Now that you're in the music side of things, okay, you've been in the tech side.
Yes.
There's perks to being the CEO of Splice, okay?
Okay.
You can text somebody else or you could text me, Elmo, I want to go to Taylor Swift with my daughter, and I will get you free tickets.
Well, I could pay for them.
You could, but you could also not. And maybe we get you on stage.
All right, everyone.
Introduce your daughter. If your daughter watches this, you're screwed. She's going to be like, text Elmo. She's coming into town.
Thank you.
Jammcard has the connections if Splice doesn't, just saying.
Thank you.
Anyways.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is the beginning of the end. We're going to get even closer together.
This is the beginning of the beginning.
This is the beginning of the beginning. It's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world.
No blockers. We're unblocking everything.
Unblocking.
We're listening.
We're listening.
If you have ideas for Splice, just write Splice. It'll end up in their Slack channel. They're listening, which is pretty awesome.
Please. Or reach out to me.
Yeah.
I'm easy to
find. If you
have
comments to Jammcard, hit up Christian Palmetto's on Instagram. Send him a DM. Okay. Or hit up team@jammcard.com. Well, one more thing I'm gonna tell you about because I just want to plant the seed with you.
Yeah, please.
To take home and whatever we haven't talked about this yet on the pod, but Jammcard is about to launch our new platform, which is called School Gig.
I read about that. That sounds so cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Really excited about it.
We just launched our education product too.
Which one is that?
And we're offering Splice to students at a pretty steep discount. We're also working with schools all over.
I love that. Maybe we can.
Yeah, we should definitely work on that.
Do more of that because our whole thing is Proposition 28 passed in California, which is the Arts and Education Bill, bringing arts teachers back into public schools.
So needed.
And it's $1 billion a year budget to hire 15,000 artists.
Amazing.
And so it's all over the state of California. All the districts have it available to all the schools from preschool through high school. And by artists, it is all music and producers, song or whatever it is, all the way to animators, choreographers, thespians, film, theater.
Oh, wonderful.
Computer programming is considered an art, not just a science. Now it's an art.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
So if you are interested in teaching, maybe you're scared of AI taking over and you want to become a teacher. But if you're interested in teaching or anything, check it out at schoolgig.us. It launches in like a month.
I think that's so important. And I'll just say that, I grew up thinking about math and science, right? And there's a certain part of your brain that works really well on those kinds of things. Those are the easiest things for computers to do for us.
Yeah.
The creativity is the hardest. And getting artists back into schools, helping kids learn how to be creative, I can't think of any way that's more important to sort of keep the robots at bay is really lean into that human right around creativity.
Yes.
So I love it.
Push the knowledge forward, craft the next generation. Let's get it. Everybody, make a ton of noise for the CEO of Splice.
Thank
Kakul
you
Srivastava.
so much.
We love you, Kakul. It's so great to finally meet you. And thanks for taking the time.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
You may now fly back to San Francisco.
All right. Sounds good.
Go. Let's go.